Good morning from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's the 15th of September 2025. 3 months of the year, 3.5 months of the year left to go. It's a bit astonishing. The time is 9:03 a.m. and it's Monday, and it also happens to be my friend Juddy Jeff's birthday, so happy birthday to you, Juddy. Hope you have a wonderful day and night and evening, however it unfurls for you. And I've got my little birdie boys outside. I've just not long put them out. They're happy. They're so happy to be in the garden, twittering away. And I'm awake and I'm dressed and I'm happening in a far out way relatively early, so I thought I would read to you Chapter 3 of the Coming of the Elves and the Captivity of Melkor. So let me just start again. Through long ages the Valar dwelt in bliss in the light of the trees beyond the mountains of Aman, but all Middle-earth lay in a twilight under the stars. While the lamps had shone, growth began there which now was checked, because all was again dark. But already the oldest living things had arisen, in the seas the great weeds, and on earth the shadow of great trees, and in the valleys of the night-clad hills there were dark creatures, old and strong. To those lands and forests the Valar seldom came, save only Yavanna and Oromi, and Yavanna would walk there in the shadows, grieving because the growth and promise of the spring of Arda was stayed. And she sat asleep upon many things that had arisen in the spring, so that they should not age, but should wait of a time of awakening that yet should be. That kind of happened to Mama T. I slept for about 20 years. Hefty psych meds will do that to you. Knock you off your socks, people of Earth. But I've awakened for these miraculous, astonishing, weird times. Sometimes quite evil times too. The Mama T is awake and aware and fighting her way through every day, reading beautiful fantasy stories of mythology and fairy realms. To you, people of Earth, my gifts to you. Curtin's eating an apple. He's got it in his crawler. He's strutting his stuff. Happy birds! Do you think the little pale-headed Rosella will come and see you today? This morning? What do you think? It was so lovely yesterday. I posted that video within a video within a video. It's gone viral. It's gone completely mad, people of Earth. It wasn't even very good filming because half of it was the wall of my window here. And oh, well, bless. Who doesn't want to look at a beautiful bird twittering away, living its best life? It's a bit like looking at the old and strange Mama T, twittering away, living her best life. Survival is not just for sissies, people of Earth. It's a sanctified, glorious, amazing feat sometimes. Don't ask me how I did it. Can't tell you. It was just at times quite miraculous. We can thank the gods for that. Maybe we can be a bit irate with the gods for casting me back here 16 times and not giving up on me and wanting to see me have my beautiful, beautiful life at long last. So here we are, living our best life, making each day beautiful, and no complaints about that really. But in the north, Melkor built his strength, and he slept not, but watched and laboured, and the evil things that he had perverted walked abroad, and the dark and slumbering woods were haunted by monsters and shapes of dread. And in Utumno he gathered his demons about him, those spirits who first adhered to him in the days of his splendour, and became most like him in his corruption. Their hearts were of fire, but they were cloaked in darkness, and terror went before them. They had whips of flame. Whips of flame, people are there. Balrogs they were named in Middle-earth in later days. And in that dark time, Melkor bred many other monsters of diverse shapes and kinds that long troubled the world, and his realm spread now ever southward over Middle-earth. And Melkor made also a fortress and armoury not far from the northwestern shores of the sea, to resist any assault that might come from Aman. That stronghold was commanded by Sauron, lieutenant of Melkor, and it was named Angband. It came to pass that the Valar held council, for they became troubled by the tidings that Yavanna and Oromi brought from the outer lands. And Yavanna spoke before the Valar, saying, Ye mighty of Arda, the vision of Iluvatar was brief and soon taken away, so that maybe we cannot guess within a narrow count of days the hour appointed. Yet be sure of this, the hour approaches, and within this age our hope shall be revealed, and the children shall awake. Shall we then leave the lands of their dwelling desolate and full of evil? Shall they walk in darkness while we have light? Shall they call Melkor Lord while Manwë sits upon Taniquetil? Taniquetil. Got there in the end, people of Earth. I know. And Tulkas cried, Nay, let us make war swiftly, Have we not rested from strife overlong, and is not our strength now renewed? Shall one alone contest with us forever? But at the bidding of Manwe, Mandos spoke, and he said, In this age the children of Iluvatar shall come indeed, but they come not yet. Moreover, it is doom that the firstborn shall come in the darkness, and shall look first upon the stars. Great light shall be for their waning. To Vardar ever shall they call at need. Then Vardar went forth from the council, and she looked out from the height of Taniquetil, and beheld the darkness of Middle Earth beneath the innumerable stars, faint and far. Then she began a great labour, greatest of all the works of the Valar since their coming into Arda. She took the silver dews from the vats of Telperion, and therewith she made new stars, and brighter against the coming of the firstborn. Wherefore, she whose name out of the deeps of time and the labours of Ea was Tentale, the kindler, was called after by the elves Elentari, Queen of the Stars. Carneal and Lunil, Nina and Lumbar, Alcarinque and Elemire she wrought in that time, and many other of the ancient stars she gathered together and set as signs in the heavens of Arda. Wilwarin, Telumindil, Soronumi, and Anarim, and Manel Makar with his shining belt, that forebodes the last battle that shall be at the end of days. Interesting. We call that one with the belt Orion, and there are warnings that an invasion could come from Sirius out of Orion. Not sure. Where is 3-1 Atlas coming from? Somewhere in Sagittarius. It's very confusing. I don't think it's an invasion. I just don't have a bad feeling about it. Could be wrong, right? Could be wrong. Could be wrong. Denial is a long river in Africa sometimes. But we've been gifted some beautiful days here in Brisbane, Australia. Absolutely stunning. Today is a day that is like a jewel created by the gods and presented to us. The last few days indeed. The scrub turkeys here. The boys are all twittery, twittery, twittery. You can't help them though. And high in the north, as a challenge to Melkor, she set the crown of 7 mighty stars to swing. Valasirsa, the sickle of the Valar, and sign of doom. Hello, you've come to see me? Yes, hoping for food. It is told that even as Vardar ended her labours, and they were long, when first Manel Makar strode up the sky, and the blue fire of Helune flickered in the mists above the borders of the world. In that hour the children of the earth awoke, the firstborn of the Lu-Vatar. To be born, they had to awaken. It's an interesting analogy, isn't it? A metaphor. Awaken your own body, mind and spirit. Come home to yourself. Stop being a feckless, cowardly, low entity zombie. Although Mama was never a low entity and never really a coward either, just tired. So tired. But I'm awake now, even though I'm still a bit tired, you understand. Once a zombie, always a zombie. And I'm not feckless. I've achieved great things all alone, with minimal resources, surrounded by people who see me and treat me with honour. My wonderful, handsome, talented psychiatrist who has encouraged me these long, many years. Almost 15 years in October I've been in therapy with her. And my friends Jared and Lynn, Margaret down in Melbourne, Sally, and my childhood friends, all the people that came and went out of my lives but were powerful supports and held me down to this planet Earth when I did not want to be here. Many times it was very fraught indeed. And here we are, alive, enjoying the sunshine. The birdies in the garden. I should be out in the garden with them, to be honest. But couldn't be bothered setting everything up outside. It's just a sign that I'm tired and I can't be bothered. I worked very hard yesterday pulling up bindi weeds, which are these awful little prickly things. They turn into prickles and stab your feet every time you walk barefoot in the grass. So I dug up many, but now my hands are really sore. They've been sore for weeks. They were sore from me sanding back the spinning wheel, and then they were sore from the next job. Oh yes, stitching with the leather piece back on the seat, and now they're sore from weeding. Guess I'm just going to have to accept that from now on everything I do makes my hands sore. Oh, to think I got old alone, no one to love me and look after me. Oh, but I'm not complaining because Rati comes on Thursdays to help with the cleaning. I have a lawnmower man that comes and does the lawns. I'm not complaining, people of Earth. I'm really not. I'm grateful. But, you know, there's lots of jobs that need doing that I still need to do and cause me great pain at times. But getting old was a privilege that I did not anticipate, actually. Never expected to be 60 years old, still strutting my stuff. It's amazing, even to my mind. Right, I segued at, in that hour the children of the earth awoke, the firstborn of the Lu-Vatar. By the starlit mare of Quivienen, water of awakening, they rose from the sleep of Iluvatar. And while they dwelt yet silent by, and it's not Qui, I got that wrong, Ku, I've already forgotten the grammar, Kuvienen, goddess. Well, at least I self-corrected. And while they dwelt yet silent by Kuvienen, Their eyes beheld first of all things, the stars of heaven, which are beautiful to behold. Therefore they have ever loved the starlight, and have revered Avada Elantari above all the Valar. In the changes of the world, the shapes of lands and of seas have been broken and remade. I've got spirits with me, just stepped up behind me, about 3 or 4 beings. Wow, it's probably the fairy curious because trying to pronounce Elfish badly probably got their attention. I'm trying my best, spirits. Please don't be angry with me. I'm trying my best for a short, fat, mortal hobbit. Oh my goodness. Oh dear goddess. They're laughing. There's laughter. I can feel waves. It's vibration. I can't always hear them, but I can feel the vibration of laughter. Isn't that lovely? They've come to listen to the story with us. I'm very grateful too for my unseen guides and messengers and protectors and supporters. By the gods, without them I would not actually have survived this life at all. Everything I have survived has been because of supernatural interventions. And I'm very, very well aware of that and conscious of that. I am nothing and no one without the Holy One and all manifestations of holiness and righteousness and truth and mercy and protection. Didn't receive a lot of protection from other humanoids, except from my friends and my psychiatrist, you'll understand. Right, let us begin. In the changes of the world, the shapes of lands and of seas have been broken and remade. Rivers have not kept their courses, neither have mountains remained steadfast, and to Cuvienen there is no returning. But it is said among the elves that it lay far off in the east of Middle-earth and northward, and it was a bay in the inland sea of Helcar, and that sea stood where aforetime the roots of the mountain of Elun had been before Melkor overthrew it. Many waters flowed down thither from heights in the east, and the first sound that was heard by the elves was the sound of water flowing and the sound of water falling over stone. Long they dwelt in their first home by the water under stars, and they walked the earth in wonder, and they began to make speech and to give names to all things that they perceived. Themselves they named the Quendi, signifying those that speak with voices, for as yet they had met no other living things that spoke or sang. All right. They just jarred me in my back a little bit to remind me to sit properly. And I am actually getting a sore back, so that was accurate reminding me. And on a time it chanced that Oromi rode eastward in his hunting, and turned north by the shores of Helcar, and passed under the shadows of the Orokani, the mountains of the east. Then, on a sudden, Nahar set up a great neighing and stood still, and Oromi wondered and sat silent, and it seemed to him that in the quiet of the land, under the stars, he heard afar off many voices singing. Thus it was that the Vala found at last, as it were by chance, those whom they had so long awaited. And Oromi looking upon the elves was filled with wonder, as though they were beings sudden and marvellous and unforeseen, for so it shall ever be with the Valar. From without the world, though all things may be forethought in music or foreshown in vision from afar, to those who enter verily into Ea, each in its time shall be met at unawares as something new and unforetold. In the beginning, the elder children of Iluvatar were stronger and greater than they have since become, but not more fair, for though the beauty of the Quendi in the days of their youth was beyond all other beauty that Iluvatar has caused to be, it has not perished, but lives in the west, and sorrow and wisdom have enriched it. And Oromi loved the Quendi, and named them in their own tongue Eldar, the people of the stars. But that name was after borne only by those who followed him upon the westward road. Yet many of the Quendi were filled with dread at his coming, and this was the doing of Melkor. For by after knowledge the wise declare that Melkor, ever watchful, was first aware of the awakening of the Quendi, and sent shadows and evil spirits to spy upon them and waylay them. So it came to pass, some years ere the coming of Oromi, that if any of the elves strayed far abroad, alone or few together, they would often vanish and never return. And the Quendi said that the hunter had caught them, and they were afraid. And indeed the most ancient songs of the elves, of which echoes are remembered still in the west, tell of the shadow shapes that walked in the hills above Cuvienen, or would pass suddenly over the stars, and of the dark rider upon his wild horse that pursued those that wandered to take them and devour them. What you doing, Kumi? Now Melkor greatly hated and feared the riding of Oromi, and either he sent indeed his dark servants as riders, or he set lying whispers abroad for the purpose that the Quendi should shun Oromi if ever they should meet. Thus it was that when Nahar neighed and Oromi indeed came among them, some of the Quendi hid themselves, and some fled and were lost. But those that had courage and stayed perceived swiftly that the great rider was no shape out of darkness, for the light of Aman was in his face, and all the noblest of the elves were drawn towards it. I didn't know you did wolf whistle. What about this one? He's looking at me like, right. And I don't want to go home right now, boys, so get busy living by the gods. But of those unhappy ones who were ensnared by Melkor, little is known of a certainty. For who of the living has descended into the pits of Autumno, or has explored the darkness of the councils of Melkor? Yet this is held true by the wise of Erisea, that all those of the Quendi who came into the hands of Melkor ere Autumno was broken were put there in prison, and by slow arts of cruelty were corrupted and enslaved. And thus did Melkor breed the hideous race of the orcs in envy and mockery of the elves, of whom they were afterwards the bitterest foes. For the orcs had life, and multiplied after the manner of the children of Iluvatar, and naught that had life of its own, nor the semblance of life, could ever Melkor make since his rebellion in the Ainulindale before the beginning, so say the wise. And deep in their dark hearts the orcs loathed the master whom they served in fear, the maker only of their misery. But like serving Anastasia Palaszczuk or her evil cesspit vermin unleashing COVID on our world. Well, they didn't unleash the COVID, but yeah, adverse reactions on our world. Threatening and coercing and terrorising. Can you believe a Labour government did that? A Labour government did that to my Homo sapiens sapiens. A Labour government. My blood still runs cold at the very thought of that. Used to represent the working man and the underdog. Now they're more monstrous than the right-wing fascists. And more dangerous, because they've got a taste of how to torture and terrorise a population. And went quite to their heads. And the local MP ran, skipping across the street, squealing like a stuck pig. I made plenty of money out of it. The fucking monster. Mama T never forgets and never forgives. He took my progeny from me, and the health of all my friends, and some members of my family too. You lackluster, feckless, cowardly dogs! But it goes across all party lines. They were all complicit in it. All of them. That's why I did not want to vote at the last election. Really did not. Evil they are. Evil and dangerous. All we can look forward to is Three Eye Atlas, bringing something of light and love and truth and decency. It's not very likely though, is it? It's like waiting for the Christians for their second coming of Christ, and the first coming didn't exactly work out all that well for them all either. 2,000 years of witch burnings and endemic pedophilia and evil beyond belief in that Lord's name. That's why I stay in Titania's realm and read fairy stories, because at least the fairies can be depended upon to take retribution against those who do evil against other species and our earth. Is it retribution we want? Not really. Natural justice. Natural justice would be nice. Natural justice. Turning men I love dearly into vicious, sadistic zombies because Mother Hydra's babies. That was astonishing, but then I can't quantify how much of that was his own natural nature, by the way, and how much was interference from the rooster boostering. Can't be certain. So we'll let that one go. Another one lost. Lost to a hellscape of his own making, because he was complicit with it too. All of it complicit. Well, here at Sacred Space Titania's realm, in all our weird and wonderful ways, we strive to always and forever remain human, not part fucking nanobot. By all the gods. All you had to do was have a few billionaires join together and you celebrated them and followed them, because what? They have billions of dollars. They don't actually give a flying fuck about you as a person walking upon this earth. They want to obfuscate and fly away to Mars and contaminate a whole other planet. Don't forget who your leadership are. Completely fucking bonkers and out of control and dishonouring of their own humanness, unleashing AI onto our world. That just wait till the singularity happens with that. Let's pray it never happens. Things programmed by humans with the darkest evil of our nature embedded into it, now joining up in super intelligence. That's a terrifying thought. Terrifying thought. Each generation we create, designed to outlast and overcome us, dishonour us, the creators. Remember that. That's why the gods sit back and take up their knitting and scratch their heads and quietly watch us self-immolate. It's great reality TV for the gods, trust me on that. Every now and then they come down though and stand beside me and let me know. You're speaking truth, Tanya Arons, and we value truth beyond all things, more precious than billions of dollars and diamonds and plutonium, truth is something you can take with you when you go too, living in your own integrity and body autonomy and authority, valorous, courageous, and a little bit stubborn, I might add, and stoic too. Never ever let the bastards grind us down. Right, Mama T's had a wee little rant and I'm still a wee little stretch now. I'm still sore from all the weeding. I'm actually feeling a bit hot now. Hot. It's only 19 degrees, but I'm hot. Man on pause is not for sissies, although I don't know if it's really menopause. It's just passion, people of Earth. Passion. Right, here we go. Got where we were up to. Got lost in space as I do. Being used as a spokesperson for the fairy realm. It's a bit weird, isn't it? Well, someone has to do it. Might as well be me. Might as well be me. Such a gorgeous day, though. It's a gorgeous day. You're singing a song, handsome boy. Yes, I know. Little boy's preening. I thought he was asleep at first, but no, he's preening his back feathers. His head tucked right behind him and he's going for it. Right, where were we? People of Earth. This, it may be, was the vilest deed of Melkor and the most hateful to Iluvatar, the creation of orcs. And their ability to multiply and have life. Interesting. Oromi tarried a while among the Quendi, and then swiftly he rode back over land and sea to Valinor, and brought the tidings to Valmar, and he spoke of the shadows that troubled Cuvienen. Then the Valar rejoiced, and yet they were in doubt amid their joy. And they debated long what counsel it were best to take for the guarding of the Quendi from the shadow of Melkor. But Oromi returned at once to Middle-earth and abode with the elves. Manwë sat long in thought upon Taniquetil, and he sought the counsel of Iluvatar. And coming then down to Valmar, he summoned the Valar to the Ring of Doom, and thither came even Ulmo from the outer sea. Then Manwë said to the Valar, "This is the counsel of Iluvatar in my heart, that we should take up again the mastery of Ardar at whatsoever cost, and deliver the Quendi from the shadow of Melkor. Then Tulkas was glad, but Auli was grieved, foreboding the hurts of the world that must come of that strife. But the Valar made ready and came forth from Aman in strength of war, resolving to assault the fortresses of Melkor and make an end. Never did Melkor forget that this war was made for the sake of the elves, and that they were the cause of his downfall. Yet they had no part in those deeds, and they know little of the riding of the might of the West against the North in the beginning of their days. Melkor met the onset of the Valar in the northwest of Middle-earth, and all that region was much broken. But the first victory of the hosts of the west was swift, and the servants of Melkor fled before them to Utumno. Then the Valar passed over Middle-earth, and they set a guard over Cuvienen, and thereafter the Quendi knew nothing of the great battle of the powers, save that the earth shook and groaned beneath them, and the waters were moved, and in the north there were lights as of mighty fires, earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions. People were there. Long and grievous was the siege of Utumno, and many battles were fought before its gates, of which naught but the rumour is known to the elves. In that time the shape of Middle-earth was changed, and the great sea that sundered it from Aman grew wide and deep, and it broke in upon the coasts and made a deep gulf to the southward. Many lesser bays were made between the great gulf and Helcaraxes, far in the north, where Middle-earth and Aman came nigh together. Of these the Bay of Balar was the chief, and into it the mighty river Sirion flowed down from the new raised highlands northwards, Dorthonion and the mountains about Hithlum. The lands of the far north were all made desolate in those days, for there Utumno was delved exceeding deep, and its pits were filled with fires and with great hosts of the servants of Melkor. But at the last the gates of Utumno were broken, and the halls unroofed, and Melkor took refuge in the uttermost pit. Then Tulkas stood forth as champion of the Valar, and wrestled with him, and cast him upon his face, and he was bound with the chain Angainor that Auli had wrought, and led captive, and the world had peace for a long age. Can you imagine that? The world being peaceful for a long age. That's their world, though. Planet Earth could do better, couldn't we? What do the elves say that come to listen to my storytelling? Bright, beautiful, blessed ones. Have no fear, Mamati. We are watching. Sometimes we intervene a little. Nonetheless, the Valar did not discover all the mighty vaults and caverns hidden with deceit far under the fortresses of Angband and Utumno. Many evil things still lingered there, and others were dispersed and fled into the dark and roamed in the waste places of the world, awaiting a more evil hour, and Sauron they did not find. But when the battle was ended, and from the ruin of the north great clouds arose and hid the stars, the Valar drew Melkor back to Valinor, bound hand and foot and blindfold. And he was brought to the Ring of Doom. I laughed because the two birds are chasing each other on the opposite sides of their cage. Like the cages abut each other and they can be chasing each other up and down, up and down. It's cute. There he lay upon his face before the feet of Manwë and sued for pardon, but his prayer was denied, and he was cast into prison in the fastness of Mandos, whence none can escape, neither Valar nor elf nor mortal man. Vast and strong are those walls, and they were built in the west of the land of Aman. There was Melkor doomed to abide for 3 ages long before his cause should be tried anew, or he should plead again for pardon. And then again the Valar were gathered in council, and they were divided in debate. For some, and of those Ulmo was the chief, held that the Quendi should be left free to walk as they would in Middle-earth, and with their gifts of skill to order all the lands and heal their hurts. But the most part feared for the Quendi in the dangerous world amid the deceits of the starlit dusk, and they were filled moreover with the love of the beauty of the elves, and desired their fellowship. At the last, therefore, the Valar summoned the Quendi to Valinor, there to be gathered at the knees of the powers in the light of the trees forever. And Mandos broke his silence, saying, "So it is doomed." From this summons came many woes that afterwards befell. But the elves were at last unwilling to hearken to the summons, for they had as yet seen the Valar only in their wrath as they went to war, save Oromi alone, and they were filled with dread. Therefore, Oromi was sent again to them, and he chose from among them ambassadors who should go to Valinor and speak for their people, and these were Ingwë, Finwë, and Elwë, who afterwards were kings. And coming, they were filled with awe by the glory and majesty of the Valar, and desired greatly the light, splendor of the trees. Then Oromi brought them back to Cuvienen, and they spoke before their people and counselled them to heed the summons of the Valar and remove into the west. Then befell the first sundering of the elves. For the kindred of Ingwe and the most part of the kindreds of Finwe and Elwe were swayed by the words of their lords, and were willing to depart and follow Oromi, and these were known ever after as the Eldar, by the name that Oromi gave to the elves in the beginning, in their own tongue. But many refused the summons, preferring the starlight and the wide spaces of Middle-earth to the rumour of the trees. And these are the Avari, the unwilling, and they were sundered in that time from the Eldar, and met never again until many ages were past. The Eldar prepared now a great march from their first homes in the east, and they were arrayed in 3 hosts. The smallest host and the first to set forth was led by Ingwe. The most high lord of all the elvish race, Ingwe. He entered into Valinor and sits at the feet of the powers, and all elves revere his name, but he never came back, nor looked again upon Middle-earth. Not right, are we? The Vanyar were his people. They are the fair elves, the beloved of Manwë and Vardar, and few among men have spoken with them. Next came the Noldor, a name of wisdom, the people of Finwe. They are the deep elves, the friends of Ali, and they are renowned in song, for they fought and laboured long and grievously in the northern lands of old. The greatest host came last, and they are named the Teleri, for they tarried on the road and were not wholly of a mind to pass from the dusk to the light of Valinor. In water they had great delight, and those that came at last to the western shores were enamoured of the sea. The sea elves, therefore, they became in the land of Aman, the Falmari, for they made music beside the breaking waves. 2 lords they had, for their numbers were great. Elwi Singolo, which signifies grey mantle, and Olwi, his brother. These were the 3 kindreds of the Eldalii, who passed at length into the uttermost west in the days of the trees are called the Calaquendi, elves of the light. But others of the Eldar there were who set out indeed upon the westward march. but became lost upon the long road, or turned aside, or lingered on the shores of Middle-earth. And these were for the most part of the kindred of the Teleri, as is told hereafter. They dwelt by the sea, or wandered in the woods and mountains of the world, yet their hearts were turned towards the west. Those elves the Kalaquendi call the Ulmania, since they came never to the land of Aman and the blessed realm, but the Ulmania and the Avari alike they call the Moriquendi, elves of the darkness, for they never beheld the light that was before the sun and moon. It is told that when the hosts of the Aldalii departed from Cuvienen, Oromi rode at their head upon Nahar, his white horse shod with gold, and passing northward about the Sea of Helkar, they turned towards the west. I was just thinking they'd have to replace his shoes quite regularly because gold is a much softer metal than iron. But it's the fairy realm. I mustn't bring it back to base reality because it's not meant to be compared with mortal realities. Let's live in the magic of their realm and stop being so bloody boring and pragmatic, Mamate. But imagine finding a horseshoe made out of gold. That's a lot of gold. Could do a lot with that. Wow. The elves are laughing. Gold you shall have, Mamate. Well, one day if I find a way to prosper. But what good is gold if your world is dying all around you and there's no fresh water and nothing to eat? Won't save us, people of Earth. Remember that. No amount of gold shall save us. We just have to co-create a beautiful, blessed and better world. And it starts from in here and from in here. Keeping your foot grounded on planet Earth and accepting your place here as a mortal human being, not some dickwad that wants to turn us into part machine and uplift us all to Mars. Fuck that shit. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. Right, his white horse shod with gold, and passing northward about the Sea of Helkar, they turned towards the west. Before them great clouds hung still black in the north above the ruins of war, and the stars in that region were hidden. Then not a few grew afraid and repented and turned back and are forgotten. Long and slow was the march of the Eldar into the west, for the leagues of Middle-earth were uncounted and weary and pathless. Nor did the Eldar desire to hasten, for they were filled with wonder at all that they saw, and by many lands and rivers they wished to abide, and though all were yet willing to wander, many feared rather their journey's end than hoped for it. Therefore, whenever Oromi departed, having at times other matters to heed, they halted and went forward no more, until he returned to guide them. And it came to pass, after many years of journeying in this manner, that the Eldar took their course through a forest, and they came to a great river, wider than any they had yet seen. And beyond it were mountains whose sharp horns seemed to pierce the realm of the stars. This river, it is said, was even the river which was after called Andun the Great, and was ever the frontier of the westlands of Middle Earth. Don't know what's got him, or Twitter pated. Oh well. But the mountains were the Heath Iglia, the towers of mist upon the borders of Eriador. Yet they were taller and more terrible in those days, and were reared by Melkor to hinder the riding of Oromi. Now the Teleri abode long on the east bank of that river, and wished to remain there, but the Vanyar and the Noldor passed over it, and Oromi led them into the passes of the mountains. And when Oromi was gone forward, the Teleri looked upon the shadowy heights, and were afraid. Then one arose in the host of Olwe, which was ever the hindmost on the road. Lenwi he was called. He forsook the westward march, and led away a numerous people southwards down the great river, and they passed out of the knowledge of their kin until long years were past. Those were the Nundor, and they became a people apart, unlike their kin, save that they loved water, and dwelt most beside falls and running streams. Greater knowledge they had of living things, tree and herb, bird and beast, than all other elves. In after years, Denethor, son of Lenwe, turned again west at last, and led a part of that people over the mountains into Beleriand, ere the rising of the moon. At length the Vanyar and the Noldor came over Ered Lune, the Blue Mountains, between Eriador and the westernmost land of Middle Earth, which the elves after named Beleriand, and the foremost companies passed over the vale of Sirion, and came down to the shores of the great sea between Drengist and the Bay of Balar. But when they beheld it, great fear came upon them, and many withdrew into the woods and highlands of Beleriand. Then Oromi departed and returned to Valinor to seek the counsel of Manwë, and left them. And the host of Teleri passed over the misty mountains and crossed the wide lands of Eriador, being urged on by Alwi Sungolo, for he was eager to return to Valinor and the light that he had beheld, and he wished not to be sundered from the Noldor, for he had great friendship with Fenwë, their lord. Thus, after many years, the Teleri also came at last over Ered Luin into the eastern regions of Beleriand. There they halted and dwelt a while beyond the river Gelion. Thus concludes chapter 3. And we'll continue very likely tomorrow with chapter 4 of the Silmarillion. So, wherever you are on planet Earth, whether you be human, mortal, or all other sentient beings, or interdimensional ones, have a beautiful day on this wonderful blue circling marble out here on the edge of the Milky Way galaxy. A bit lost in space, you understand, but are you ever truly lost when you have the gods by your side? I don't think so. So, live your very best life. Love the ones who love you back truly and honouringly and sweetly, and be the joy and delight that is our sharpest weapon against envy and spite and smite and slander and chaos. Dance in the eternal summerlands. Sending much love to you all. Bye for now, people of Earth.